Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the advocate behind the numbers, guiding small businesses from confusion to control. No other than Miss Gale Sasha.
Hello.
Welcome, Miss Gail on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure, and thank you for having me, Daniel. I am Gale Sciascia, co-founder of Sciascia Tax and Retirement. I'm a federally licensed enrolled agent. My husband and I started Sciascia Tax and Retirement. We bring a combined 42 years of experience from our collective fields, encouraging and helping the middle class uh, receive the treatment that we see some of the most elite and wealthy people receive with their finances and tax strategies.
Miss Sasha or Miss Gail Sasha, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering business to come. So let's talk about the unique value and insights that come from combining and expertise in tax finance and strategic planning. Tell us what the most advisors specialize in one area. What is the single biggest strategic advantage for a client when tax, finance, and planning are integrated from the start rather than handled separately?
So, one of our biggest things at Shasha Tax and Retirement is we like to make our clients feel empowered. We noticed that across the board, many of our clients were afraid to ask questions or they didn't have an understanding that we thought they needed. And so we always want to bring clarity. We always want to leave the client feeling more knowledgeable and feeling like they own their finances. And so what we have found is we treat it more proactively instead of retroactively, which is what a lot of people tend to do. They look at taxes at the end of the year, but then you leave a lot of money on the table, right? When you don't
Mm.
strategically plan. So
w-
we solve for that.
We we are so intrigued about taxing, Miss Gail. And what is the most common and costly blind spot you see when these three disciples, tax, finance, and strategy, are not working together?
So the biggest thing that we do see is that when you don't plan, you leave a gap for your retirement. You, as a business owner, you leave a gap for the way that you can save. Being a business owner, things that you can claim as deductions. And so the overall process is really left in a vulnerable position. Even if you're a pass through company, there are a lot of things that you can do, but you do need the expertise behind it. And so we promote taxes are all year long. It's not just from January to April.
Hmm. Interesting, Miss Gail. And you sit at the intersection of three complex fields. How do you translate the often conflicting advice from separate specialists into cohesive, optimized plan or for a client?
So, one of the things that you really have to do is you have to get to know your client. And one of the things that we found is for a lot of our clients, information that they've shared with other advisors has been very surface level. And so those other advisors don't know what their 10-year plan is, or when they want to retire, or what they want their legacy to be, how they want their family to inherit. And so we dig into those things and we are able to give better advice, create a better structure, and give them a comprehensive plan for what they envision for their future. And that really sets us apart and it keeps them from being a number. And it definitely makes our clients feel heard and seen.
Miss Gale, let's talk about the strategy and proactive planning. How does your combined expertise allow you to move from reactive compliance to proactive value creating strategy?
That's a very good question. So, what we like to do, we have worksheets that we go through with our clients. Again, we get to know them as people, we get to know their businesses and the nuances. And that way, we kind of keep an eye on it for them. We also encourage communication. And so, it's a regular thing for us. If our client is thinking of buying a building for their practice, that's something they would call us and talk to us about so that we could prepare them for what that tax implication is going to be. Same as if they're selling a rental home. So we encourage our clients to keep communication with us so that we are proactive with them and we're guiding them in their decisions, and it's not an afterthought where we can't plan for what the consequence may be.
Miss Gale, how do you use financial modeling and tax forecasting to run?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that one, Daniel. Can you repeat that for me?
Yes, how do you use financial modeling and tax forecasting to run for a clients to de-risk their decisions?
So, definitely on the tax side, when we're doing financial modeling, we're typically looking at things like their accounting. We're leveraging cost segregations to plot out what their depreciation schedule should be, and we model that way. Same difference with if they own rental property. We're looking at those depreciation schedules. We're looking at what the rents have been, if there's going to be any type of recapture that the client is going to have to claim. And so we really stay on top of it for clients that way with our modeling. And then for the retirement piece of it, we have portfolio assistance. So similar to the box agencies, your Edward Jones and companies and things like that, we do keep an eye on portfolios. We do help the clients and know what they want to invest in. But in a different way, we provide fiduciary oversight and services where we are not having a piece of the pie depending on what they are invested in. So we keep it 100%. What is the client's goal? How risky they want to be, and how that's going to grow out. And then we model that for them monthly so that they have deliverables and they can see how their portfolio is growing. And we can also answer any questions and make adjustments as they would like them.
Ms. Gale, on tax efficiency as a strategic tool, how can business leaders start thinking of tax strategy as a key input for decision making through the year rather than just an output at year end?
So I think the first thing with that is one of the things that we're working through, and it's something I speak extensively on, and that's just the empowerment phase of it. And you have to want the answers, and you have to be willing to ask for those answers. As I've touched on before, I think a lot of the business owners that we have come into contact with have been very timid when it came to asking questions of their financial advisors. And the first step to being on top of it and integrating it is being willing to ask those questions and having an expectation that you will receive an answer.
Indeed. And tell us, how does the early strategic choice of business through, let's say, ripple through every subsequent financial and tax decision, and why is it so critical to get right?
Well, I think your financial decisions really determine the health of your financial life as an individual. It definitely determines what moves you can make as a business. It determines how your bills are paid. It determines if you are able to receive a loan. It determines how your company is positioned if you would like to sell it, or if you need additional capital. So, the financial health of your business and keeping your finger on the pulse of that life is critical, um, for managing not just your personal life, but your business as well.
Very well said, Miss Gale. Very well said and empowering answers. On finance and capital allocation, how does your tax background change the way you view a company through cash flow and capacity for reinvestment, debt repayment, or owner distributions?
So, we always start, we like to go through the books of a client. Um, we want to make sure that they are set up properly from start to finish. And so, one of the things that we typically do when we take on a new client is we do look at how they're structured, because that is one of the big areas that I see that is not always positioned properly. And so, that's where we start. And then we go through their finances. We look at their banking history. We see how their books are closing, and we help them build out whatever is needed, really, um, to make sure that they are positioned properly and to make sure that they are in order and in compliance.
Very well said again. Miss Gale, how do tax deduction on interest expense influence your strategic advice on using debt as a tool for growth versus equity financing?
So I think a lot of people approach debt as a bad thing. As a business, debt is not always bad. And so, again, you have to look at the health of the company. I think maybe it was Kevin O'Leary that said it best. When he buys a building, he has the pasta and the meat. And so when he buys a pasta building, he has to make sure that he has enough buildings that are meat, which means bringing in capital, bringing in revenue to handle the payments on the pasta building. So the pasta buildings are actually his passion projects. And so we look at things in kind of the same lens, as far as when debt is good and when it's not. We want to make sure everyone's companies are healthy and able to support the debt that it's taking on. And so we are in constant reevaluation, to make sure that our clients are positioned properly.
Miss Gale, let's talk about for business owners and executives. How do you use this combined expertise to help business owners prepare for sale years in advance to maximize their after tax proceeds?
So, what one of the things that we do is we benchmark, and this is really part of what Michael does, but we benchmark for the companies to make sure retirement plans are maximized, um, be it union, non union, if they can contribute more, if they don't have employees. So we look at all of those things to make sure all tax savings are applied and are giving the maximum savings for that client.
Hmm. Powerful, powerful strategy indeed. And for business owners, the line between personal and corporate finances is blurred. How do you navigate strategies like retirement planning, investments, and estate planning within this overlap?
So the first thing, you're very right. The lines are definitely blurred, and to parrot a earlier touching point, we go through compliance with our clients. And I don't think a lot of people understand that when they have a small business, an LLC, how quickly blurring that line can pierce their corporate veil. And so that's where we start with that. We want to make sure everyone is in compliance, everything is set up properly. And then from there, uh, we merge those by, excuse me, we merge those by taking it very strategically and step by step. And we walk through what savings are, where we can dig deeper, how aggressive we want to be, and then how we can fold that into retirement. We go at it in a home office perspective where if you need an estate, we vet that person for you. We vet that attorney for you to make sure their skill set matches the qualifications and the needs that you have as a business or an individual. And we bring those people in for you so that there is a cohesive understanding of what you want your financial picture to be. Excuse me. And then we can put those pieces into place for you. So, be it a realtor, a banker, mortgage broker, estate attorney, we find those pieces for you and we make sure that the credentials and the experience needed for that particular situation is in place so that those pieces can fall together cohesively and that we can all work together for the best tax picture for the client.
Miss Sasha, as a founder, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, we really had a focus on, the middle class. We saw a lot of deficiency in that area. And I started this journey wanting to make sure the same services were afforded. And I realized very quickly I didn't want to do it without my husband. He's very brilliant at what he does. And it made perfect sense for us to merge our respective talents to fill this gap. So we like to say tax and retirement go hand in hand because it really does, and it should be treated that way. So our long-term goals are definitely to put more entrepreneurs and middle class families in a position that they would like to be in, where they feel confident in their financial lives.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Gale, and looking forward for more success. And can you give a piece of
Well, thank
advice for
you.
those people out there who want to be entrepreneur like you?
Well, it's definitely not easy, but it is a passion for both myself and my husband. So
Yes.
I think the first thing I would say is make sure it's something you like, and maybe that way it won't feel like so much of a job. Um, but definitely choose something that you like and be willing to work very hard for it because it's definitely not easy.
Not easy, people. The road of being entrepreneur is not easy. There is ups and down and ups for sure.
It's very rewarding.
Yes, but
Very
rewarding.
rewarding, but not easy.
Yes, that is the results rewarding. So, Miss Gail, thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
So one of the books that I just recently read was Never Split the Difference. It is a high stakes negotiation book, if you will, written by a former FBI agent. Um, Part of what we do at Shaw's Tax Retirement is IRS representation. And so negotiation skills are always important to us, um, not just with the IRS, but with your contractors and your attorneys and everyone else that we will speak to on your behalf. And so self learning and keeping up on latest trends are very important to us. So that's one of the last books that I've read that I thought was very good.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss Gail. And tell us, beyond the numbers, what is your process for understanding a client's deepest goals and fears to ensure the financial and tax strategy truly serve their life vision?
So again, very much empowerment in asking questions, getting to know that client. And I speak so much on empowerment because the more that we let the client know that we want to hear their voice, the more they open up and tell us what they're really wanting for their future. And that definitely helps us plan better for them. It helps us give them better advice, and it helps them get to a spot where they are happy and comfortable a lot quicker.
Happy and comfortable. I like that, Miss Gail. In an era of economic uncertainty and potential tax law changes, how does your strategic planning incorporate flexibility and contingency for the unknown?
I'm sorry, Daniel, I didn't hear that last part.
In an era of economic uncertainty and potential tax law changes, how does your strategic planning incorporate flexibility and contingency for the unknown?
So the burden is really on myself and Michael as a company. So we really have to make sure that we are on top of our respective fields and what those changes are, so that we can adequately give that information to our clients. So we'll never be 100% on what the market's going to do. We'll never be 100% on what Congress is going to do as far as laws. But if we stay on top of the changes as they happen, then we can give as much real time advice as possible. Um, and that is helpful to our clients. So again, it's more on us to keep that going knowledge wise for our clients.
Miss Gail, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please don't listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Miss Gail, If you could get every potential client to ask in themselves one question about the integration of their tax, financial, and strategic plans, what would it be?
Well, I think the biggest question that we are faced with, or that we ask our clients to contemplate, is what scares them the most about their financial future. And that tends to get the conversation really moving. Once you think about it, you can determine what areas are, where the priority is, and how you want to move, and where you want to have the most structure. And so that would be the place that we would go first.
Miss Gale Sasha, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books or empowering business to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your projects, or anything that you want to promote right now?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Daniel. If you have any questions, if you need any consults for tax services, IRS representation, or financial planning, you can visit us on contact@shashatr.com. Also, if you would like to receive our Beyond Compliance, which is 5 elite tax strategies to unlock growth and build wealth, also visit contact@shashatr.com, and we will email that to you. And you will also receive priority access to our upcoming tax strategy masterclass.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Gail Sasha because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering business like this to come, more and more empowering entrepreneurs to come. So, Miss Gail, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.